You rehearsed a sentence in the shower this morning, not for accuracy, but to see if it would survive their opinions. I turned your nervous system into a voting booth where everyone casts a ballot except you. This is for the person who believes they stopped caring what people think, but only switched audiences. The corporate drifter who reads rooms before speaking. The performer who checks faces for permission. The chronic editor who tests every opinion against an invisible jury. What if the mirror you've been using to check your reflection was never glass, but a screen I control? I will show you the exact mechanism that converts independent thought into crowd consensus. And I will give you one dare that forces you to feel the hinge point where my control breaks. We begin with the room, move to the mirror, expose the neurological trap, reveal the payoffs you're protecting, and end at the only exit, which requires you to sit in discomfort you've been avoiding your entire life. Your body registers disagreement with a group as a computational error, the same signal your brain fires when you touch a hot stove. And I exploit that signal until compliance becomes indistinguishable from personality. You scanned 3 faces before you spoke in that meeting. You adjusted your opinion mid-sentence based on a furrowed brow. That micro-adjustment, the one you didn't notice, is my entire operating system. The room is not neutral space. It is a polling station your body runs automatically. The scanning happens before the thinking, evolutionary threat detection I repurposed. You believe you're reading faces out of care. You're reading them out of fear. The adjustment is so smooth, you don't notice the original thought disappearing. Napoleon Hill's devil confessed, "A drifter has lots of opinions, but they are not his own. Most are supplied by me." The room taught you that survival depends on matching the temperature. Every compliant adjustment trains the pattern deeper. You think reading the room makes you socially intelligent, but when did reading become obeying? Scan the next room you enter and notice, are you gathering information or taking temperature to adjust yourself? But the room is just the mechanism's entry point. The deeper architecture is the mirror. And what you see in it was never your reflection. Charles Horton Cooley described how identity forms in 3 steps. You imagine how you appear to others, imagine their judgment, and feel pride or shame based on that imagined verdict. Notice, your self-concept is built from imagined judgments, not real ones. The self is not discovered. It is assembled from reactions you collect. Social media perfected this. Every post is a mirror check. Every like updates the reflection. The spotlight effect proves roughly half the judgment you fear is imaginary. Studies show people overestimate how much others notice them by about 2 times. You are paying full cortisol tax for surveillance that doesn't exist. The mirror gives immediate feedback. Purpose requires delayed gratification. So the mirror wins. Applause becomes the leash. You repeat whatever earned it. You abandon what received silence. The drifter deletes content not because it's wrong, but because it's too quiet. Silence feels like disapproval, even when it's just absence of data. That deletion is the missed detail. You didn't decide the content failed. You decided the audience's silence was a verdict. Your self-concept updates every time someone reacts to you. You call it growth. I call it surrendering the remote control. Who decided your last opinion was wrong, you or the silence that followed it? The mirror controls behavior. But the reason it works, the reason you cannot simply ignore it, is neurological. Your brain codes social deviance as a physical error. In Solomon Asch's conformity experiments, 75% of people conformed at least once against clear visual evidence. They could see the truth. They chose the room. Vasily Klucharev's brain imaging research showed why. When you disagree with a group, your rostral cingulate zone fires a prediction error. The brain's "you made a mistake" alarm. Simultaneously, your reward signal in the nucleus accumbens suppresses. The brain treats social deviance as a computational error requiring correction. This is not psychology, this is neurology. The alarm arrives before thought. Naomi Eisenberger's research proved social exclusion activates the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain. Your body cannot distinguish between a broken bone and a broken reputation. The error signal fires during the disagreement, not after social consequences. The punishment is anticipatory, built into the perception itself. This is why dissent feels wrong before it feels brave. Most drifters mistake the alarm for evidence. It is not evidence. It is my maintenance system. The mirror told you feedback is growth. But now you see, the error signal fires before conscious thought arrives. This is why dissent feels wrong before it feels brave. Most drifters mistake the alarm for evidence. It is not evidence. It is my maintenance system. The error signal is immediate. But you stay in the loop long term because of what you're protecting. And the payoffs are not what you think. Protection from failure. Borrowed opinions carry distributed liability. If the crowd is wrong, no one person is responsible. Individual accountability dissolves into groupthink. You avoid the terror of being individually, specifically, publicly wrong. Belonging without vulnerability. Conformity purchases tribal membership at the cost of authenticity. You receive the dopamine of agreement, the oxytocin of tribal bonding, without the risk of being known and rejected for what you actually are. The cost is never being known at all. Cognitive ease. Outsourcing opinions to the crowd eliminates the metabolic expense of independent thought. Social proof is a heuristic, a shortcut that conserves mental energy. Your mind runs cooler because it is processing less. This feels like peace. It is the peace of an unused engine. Moral absolution. If everyone agrees, no one is responsible. You can participate in poor decisions without carrying personal guilt. The crowd voted, you merely raised a hand. The cruelest feature, you decorated the cage yourself. So leaving feels like failure. The drifter occasionally sees their own pattern, and the awareness doesn't free them. It adds a second cage. Now they're complicit, and they know it. The error signal felt like evidence you were wrong, but it was just the alarm I installed. These payoffs keep you returning. But return enough times, and the return becomes automatic. That is when hypnotic rhythm locks the cage permanently. Napoleon Hill's Devil described hypnotic rhythm as natural law. Any thought pattern repeated becomes automated, then enforced by nature itself. Nature does not need consent to place you under the spell, only to find you off guard through any form of neglect to use your own mind. The daily room scanning, the mirror checking, the opinion editing. Repeated enough, they fossilize. What began as threat response becomes personality trait. The fawn response, chronic people-pleasing, is an autonomic state, not character. Hill's Devil claimed control over 98% of people through drifting. Those 98% are drifters not by choice, but by accumulated rhythm. The drifter cannot pinpoint when compliance became automatic. There was no single moment. Hypnotic rhythm works through accumulation, not event. Definiteness of purpose is the counter rhythm. Hill described it as a mind organized around a single dominant aim, pursued with deliberate intensity. But most never install it. The voting booth, the mirror, the error signal, the payoffs. You kept the payoffs kept the pattern locked. Hypnotic rhythm cannot be reasoned with. it can only be interrupted. An interruption requires the one thing you've been avoiding: kinetic friction. The error signal will scream. Let it scream. Kinetic friction is the felt resistance when you first act against the current. Hill wrote that people who think for themselves never drift, not through bravery, but through occupied bandwidth. A mind full of purpose has no room for ballots. The dare is not to stop caring what others think. That is performative independence, still audience-driven. The dare is capacity replacement. Fill the space fear occupies. Most drifters confuse not caring what people think for actual independence. Real independence is not noticing the crowd, because attention is elsewhere. First, form one opinion today on any subject: work strategy, personal boundary, aesthetic preference, that you suspect will not match the room's temperature. Second, hold that opinion for 72 hours without checking a single face, feed, or conversation for validation. Do not ask, "What do you think?" Do not scan for nods. Do not test it. Let it exist untested. Third, log the physical sensations, the error signal firing, the urge to poll, the cortisol spike when silence lasts too long. That discomfort is kinetic friction. It is not evidence you are wrong. It is evidence you are moving. You will feel the voting booth trying to reopen. You will reach for the mirror. The leash will pull. That tension, that is the hinge point where my control breaks. Definiteness does not silence the crowd. It makes the crowd's volume irrelevant, not through courage, through capacity. I control you through the opinions of others because you gave me the remote control at birth and never asked for it back. The dare returns it to your hand. What you do with it after 72 hours is no longer my concern.